All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Northern Now, the digital event series for alumni and friends presented by NMU Alumni Relations. My name is Kylie Bunting, and I'm the Digital Engagement Architect of Alumni Relations here at NMU. And I'm so glad that you've joined us for tonight's athletic update and to celebrate the return of Rick Comley. We haven't had one of these since June, so I'm really excited to be back with you all today and to share an inside look at NMU Athletics. But first, I just want to cover a couple of logistics. So while we are unable to see and hear you in this webinar format, we still want to hear from you. So we will be monitoring the Q&A section. So please, if you have any questions or comments for Rick or our coaches, feel free to share them there. Also, you can use the chat function at the bottom of your screen to chat with your fellow Wildcats who are watching. Just a note on that as well, in the chat window, there's a drop-down menu to send chats to hosts and panelists or to everyone. Make sure that you change this from the default hosts and panelists. Make sure you change that to everybody so everybody can see what you're saying and you can chat with fellow Wildcats. Just want to touch on some upcoming alumni events. We will continue the Northern Now series with a holiday cooking segment on Wednesday, November 16th. With NMU's executive chef, Alden McDonald. And then also we're excited for two upcoming alumni days in Detroit. The first is on December 11th at the Detroit Lions game. And then the other one is on March 18th at the Detroit Red Wings game. All that information is on our website, so you can visit nmu.edu/alumni and register for these or find out more information. I also just want to take a brief moment to mention Wildcats Connect, which is an online platform for alumni and students to ask questions and offer advice. It's a great way to help out NMU students and to give back to the university with your talent, and a great way to stay connected to NMU and also get in touch with fellow alumni. You can also visit our website for more information on that. And of course, follow us on social media for all the things to keep up to date on upcoming events and other things happening. University updates and things like that. And so now I would like to, let me just get out of here, sorry. All right, so now I'd like to welcome tonight's moderator, Karla McCutcheon, who is an NMU alumna and former Wildcat basketball player. Karla has been teaching physical education and health at Marquette Senior High School for 23 years, and she was also recently honored with an Excellence in Education Award from the Michigan Lottery. Karla graduated in 2000 from Northern with a bachelor's degree in physical education and a minor in health education. She was a member of the 1997-98 women's basketball team that was inducted into the NMU Sports Hall of Fame. Karla, welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Kylie. And this is truly a privilege to be with all of you here tonight, spending my night with all the Wildcat fans out there. In addition, being able to visit with Casey and Mike, and then really celebrating Rick Comley coming back to us. And it's a privilege. I look forward to, once they offered me this, I said, I for sure want to be part of this because Rick, you had so many influences within our athletic program here, and we're really looking forward to visiting with you here tonight. When it comes to Rick, he is now back as our NMU Athletic Director. As many of you know, Rick is NMU's former hockey coach and was the first coach of the program who spent more than a quarter of a century in the job here. He brought home 2 NCAA Division I hockey titles, one of them here in NMU in 1991, which is very memorable, and then also down at Michigan State in 2000. Rick previously served as NMU's athletic director for 13 years from 1987 to 2000. His term as AD was punctuated by extensive efforts to ensure compliance with Title IX, the law that requires gender equity in all university activities, including intercollegiate athletics, as well as the planning and construction of our Superior Dome, the Barry Event Center, and the Izzo Mariucci Academic Center. The rink at NMU Barry Event Center is now named in his honor. Welcome, Rick. Thanks for being here with us. Why don't you start by telling us how it feels to be back at NMU?
Okay. Excuse me. Thanks, Karla. Well, it's great. You know, when Gavin called and wanted to know if I'd consider it, I said, I don't have to consider it. If you want me to come back, certainly I want to be back. You know, it's funny, like I left in, what was it, 2001, I guess, you know, and I've always had a little bit of guilt for leaving. You know, I thought they were pretty good reasons and it worked out good for my family and Diane and I, but you know, now to come back and be able to finish my work, truly finish my working career here, it's not like coming back to work, it's coming back home.
And I think you just touched on this, but a little bit more. Why did you decide to return to NMU?
Well, number one, they asked, you know, so, you know, you know, with Forrest Carr leaving late and then Bridget stepping into a different job, the timing was really tough to go into a national search. And, you know, I know how important it is for coaches to have somebody they can talk to. And I think I just felt what I could bring into them is perhaps a different approach, not the career AD approach, but somebody who is an administrator, but is a coach first. You know, and my whole first 2 months here have been basically getting to know the coaches, you know, and I think that's what's going to serve the biggest benefit.
Okay. And how have things changed on campus since you were here 23 years ago?
Well, it's grown, it's changed, you know, for sure. This position has really changed. You know, when I was the AD and the hockey coach, I think we had, I don't know, 11 or maybe 11 sports, you know, and you did athletics. So I would be the AD from 8 in the morning till noon hour and the hockey coach from noon hour until 6 or 7 at night. And coming back to this now, you have the National Training Center athletes, you know, wrestlers and weightlifters. You have all rec services, which includes intramurals and club sports. And then you have 19 different sports within our program and a few that are, you know, non-NCAA. So the magnitude is much bigger.
How have things changed with NMU Athletics?
Well, again, more sports, you know, and the diversity that we have. You know, Title IX is always a major issue. You know, I went through it once before. We're going through it again because the campus student population has changed so much. We're now 60% female, 40% male. That's a, you know, 5% difference from a year ago. So that requires you to constantly adjust your numbers. You know, when I look around, you know, hockey's still here, football's still here, the two basketballs, volleyball, you know, which we've had great success with over the years. There's some new sports. Women's wrestling is brand new to me. Esports, I had no idea what esports even was. And a lot of athletic directors are kind of learning, you know, now. So just the diversity is much greater.
All right. What are some of your plans you have for NMU Athletics now moving forward?
Well, lots. I think I'm driving Gavin crazy right now, you know, because I came back and the renovations in the Berry Center were already planned. We have to put a new ice plant in there. I asked them when I first got here, if it wasn't too late, could we shrink the boards? You know, the Berry is presently 200 by 100, which is Olympic size. Everybody all over the country is going back closer to NHL size, which is 85 feet. We can't go that far, but we're going to go to about 92 feet, you know, 92, 94 feet. And that'll just, it allows Grant to go out and recruit and not have to sell the big ice, which is more European and requires a different player. Coupled with that, both of them, in case we'll talk about this later, the basketball coaches have never really settled in at the Berry Center. I think you remember, I think you played a little bit at Hedgecock and some at the Berry Center. And, you know, I don't think there's a fan out there of basketball who, you know, who doesn't wish we were still in Hedgecock. And that wasn't an athletic choice, but it was a university choice. No choice. You can't go back. So you have to move forward. And this is where Mike has been really, really supportive. The plan right now is to move basketball out of the Berry and then redesign, refurbish Vanderman to be a dual facility with basketball and with volleyball. We will make sure it's done properly. We hope it's done by next fall, but we're still gathering bids and creating plans. It'll be done as soon as we can get it done. We do have a major problem in the weight room because actually it's on the second floor in the dome on the far side and the floor has cracked. And as crazy as that sounds, it's not fixable because you can't tear up the whole floor. So we have a real limitation on how much weight can be lifted, how it can be lifted. So we have to find a new location or some way to make that adaptable. You know, strange as it might sound, We're using weights that were donated to us by Michigan State like 13 years ago when they were just getting rid of them. And there has not been a plan to replace weights. We now are going to start a fundraising campaign. Anybody listening can certainly help with that, where we replace those weights and give our athletes the proper equipment they need to train and develop. When we added, and I'll keep going here until you stop me, but when we added lacrosse in the recent edition of sports, it's a good ad, it's a great sport, it's a growing sport. Unfortunately, it's a spring sport. They like to play, and they do play on the turf. We already have track, which wants to play with the turf up. So somehow I have to solve that scheduling problem. One of the things I'm asking Gavin to consider again is putting 2 lanes around the perimeter of the dome, which our distance runners can use, and putting 2 lanes on each side of the turf, which our sprinters can use, and make the dome a true multi-purpose facility. A little bit down the road, I would like to take the soccer field, take up the grass, put down field turf, and put an outdoor track around it. That would make it compatible for both soccers and for volleyball. It's one of those things where you could go on and constantly upgrade and improve things for our coaches. But I would say that probably those are the top 5 or 6 right now.
That's an amazing list there, Rick. And once you do head into retirement after tackling all those things, I hope you're ready to relax at that point. I'm sure many people listening at home are very excited to hear all these things that you're sharing.
We have a couple questions from the audience, Karla. So one question, actually there are 2 questions about the football program. What plans do you have to help improve the NMU football program?
Well, those are fair. Believe me, they're expected, because obviously everybody wants football to do well. We do. Everybody wants football to do better. I've talked to Kyle about it. You know, he's gone through a really difficult time period here, in that he had to go through 2 years of COVID. I think that really set things back. I believe in Kyle. I think his football knowledge is tremendous. His upbringing around the game was great. But obviously, as a previous coach, and the coaches on the line with us today, they all know in the end, it's about winning. You have to win the right way, you know, but you do have to create a program that has success. Right now, there's not enough success there for us, for the president, for Kyle. But meeting on a regular basis, for understanding some of the frustrations he has and has been presented with, and we can solve those, then I think you can sit down at the end of the year and make a true evaluation on what's good for Kyle and what's good for the football program.
Great. Linda would like you to explain a little bit more in detail what the thoughts are for the Vandament in basketball, if you can talk a little bit more about that. Sure.
We have to be very, very careful, because volleyball has been one of our most successful programs, 2 national championships that I was proud to be a part of. I believe it needs a facelift. I think it's been a great facility. Mike's got a great recruiting tool, being a facility that only volleyball uses. I think right now the plan would be we would rotate the court, and then we would put seats all around it, the proper seats, good quality seats. We can probably get 1,500 to 1,900 people in there. We would have to redo video boards, scoreboards, create new positioning for banners and displaying your success. We're not going to do anything that hurts either basketball or volleyball. And that's phase 1. Phase 2 to me would be a lobby, a proper entry to the building with concessions, with restrooms, with display areas for the history of both programs, men and women, and volleyball, and be a facility we can be proud of.
Great. One more from Sarah. Are there other plans for the replacement of the turf in the dome?
Of the turf? Yes. Right now, the turf is scheduled to be replaced a year this summer. It's already in the budget. It's already be approved. This turf right now has been good to us, but it's worn out. Every time we put it out, it has to be hand stitched together in spots. And so we're very limited right now how much we can actually take it up and down. So there will be a brand new turf go in there.
All right. Let's shift back to hockey here. What's your favorite NMU hockey memory?
You know, I get asked that a lot, and I don't know like for me personally, I can't just give you one. I can give you, the first goal we scored, which is that we had beat 5-0 in the first game we played against St. Louis. We were losing 5-0 going into the last minute of the second game. We scored a goal finally. Donnie Waddell scored, and the crowd went crazy. When we scored a goal. That group of freshmen played for the national championship as seniors. We got beat by North Dakota, but in those days they played the national championship. One game on Thursday, one game on Friday, a championship game on Saturday. Whoever played on Thursday won the national championship. Unfortunately, we played Friday. And then the obvious answer is the national championship game in 1991 when we beat Boston University in triple overtime. I mean, it's pretty tough to ever replace that.
Very good. And one more here. In what ways does your work and the work of NMU Athletics impact the community in which we live?
Well, I think a lot. I think Northern has always been a big part of the community. The Dome, I think, has been tremendous for people. We've had so many walkers in there. I spend a lot of time out mingling, talking to people, just saying hi. I remember building the hockey program way back when there was nothing here. It was a good hockey town, but we had to build a fan base. We had to build booster clubs. We had to create season tickets. We had a waiting list. I thought 1,000 people at one point, but it only sat like 2,400 until we gradually expanded it. So, I think as much as like Marquette High School is a part of the community, Northern has to be even a bigger part because I think it can add elements to the community that aren't normally here, whether it's Forrest Roberts, whether it's the people coming back part-time, whether they're coming back full-time, the type of well-educated people you're adding to the community. And Marquette, in the time I was gone 10 years down in East Lansing. Marquette's really changed too. I mean, there's so much youth and activity in town now. And you just look at the amount of kids that are around, the bikes, the skiers, the coffee shops that are opening, everything that's vibrant, and so I think we constantly have to work at keeping a close knit community with us and the city, and the better it is, the better it is for everybody.
Looks like we have another question on the chat.
Yes. So Chris Charbonneau says, welcome back, Coach. Can you share some of your memories? I know you touched on this a little bit, but can you share some of your memories of the championship season you had? He said, FYI, I was the drummer in the NMU pep band from 87 to 91. So he was the guy playing the drums during the championship. Thanks for such a memorable experience. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that season for you.
Sure, absolutely. How about now the band today? I think it's 140 people, the biggest it's ever been. And we had to really work at creating a pep band within the band. And they became tremendous because, a lot of pro teams have piped in music, where college hockey is known for pep bands. The better the pep band, the better environment that they create in the building. And so, the NCAA would only allow 25 people in a band to travel, which I always thought was ludicrous. But, 25 after work were really, really hard to be heard in a 15,000 or 18,000 seat arena. And our band certainly did that. And, again, I think my best memories, I talked about individual games, but it's the players. Like I am so close still to that early group, Walt Kyle, they're going to name the locker room after this weekend. What a great career Walt had here as a player, one of my first players, and then an assistant coach who helped me be successful, and then the head coach for so long. And, but go back to Tom Laidlaw, Donnie Waddell, and Barry Oakes, and Steve Weeks, and the people went on to be good pros and good doctors and good lawyers and good professionals, and who still love Northern and still do what they can to help us. So I think one of the great blessings we have as a coach, it is memories, but it's relationships, and that's what's, my life has been so fulfilled. And like, I think now that I'm giving back, I guess, is, part of it. And it's all related. Not every moment was high, or not every game was a success, but you don't get those feelings or those memories unless you've had the chance to work at a place like Northern or to coach a sport that competes at a high level. And I was blessed to be able to do that.
Great. Also, I want to mention too that 140 person marching band is going on the road this weekend. They are performing in Grand Rapids at a high school game on Friday, at the Grand Valley State versus Wildcat game on Saturday, and then on their way back performing in Gaylord too. So if anybody who's joining us is in those areas, you can check out our website or our social media for information on that, but go and cheer them on. We do have questions. They're rolling in now. Linda says, I have heard quite a few hockey fans that have had concerns about the congestion with the walking area and concessions. Any comments on that?
That's probably true. I think unfortunately or fortunately, like it took me 20 years to raise enough money to build a building to begin with. And with more money, we would have created wider concourses. So there is a limited concourse space. They've done a pretty darn good job, in creating good concessions with accessibility, but it's never going to be perfect because we don't have 30 or 40 feet like a lot of the pro arenas do. The only thing they can really do is create access in, access out, and have people kind of not linger exactly right in front of the concessions area. So it is what it is.
She added, a few people have asked if it would be possible to extend an area for the old-fashioned donors room and a concession area other than where it is now.
Boy, I didn't see the building is built out of these big slabs of concrete. So to add on to the building, it would be a multi-million-dollar project. Right now, and 100% honesty here, is I'm much more concerned, to be honest with you, on moving basketball and making that correct, with improving the weight room and making that efficient, to improving turf areas for lacrosse and for track and for soccer and everything that way. And so down the road, if Gavin could come up with this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and you could add on to the berry, that would be tremendous. Or we got a donor who would give us $20 million. We could do that too, but that's tough to find.
Yeah, if anybody's out there, feel free to reach out to the foundation. What's the timetable for reducing the width of the rink?
It'll be done this summer. So by next fall, the new ice plant will be. See what happened there. It's called an old brine system in the ice rink, and you can't buy brine anymore. So you have to put a brand new plant in there. At the same time, the bids came in good, and we could actually move the boards in without spending any more money from the original amount allocated. So everything will be done by the fall. Now, and the reason, one of the real positives for moving basketball, right now, the cost of putting that floor for basketball up and down probably is in that $50,000 to $75,000 range per year. And then when basketball's there, we have to practice with hockey down at Lakeview. So you're paying ice rental fees down there. As it is, basketball never gets to practice where they play. And, I think the coaches feel it probably costs them 3 or 4 wins a year. You want to play where you practice whenever possible. We can solve a lot of ills by this move.
Great. Okay. The return of the CCHA has been very positive. College hockey is experiencing great growth with Augustana joining next year. Is there discussion about Lindenwood joining the conference? Are you involved in any other discussions about other schools, as there seems to be volatility out east with AHA, LIU, Stonehill, Utica, etc.?
Well, I haven't heard much talk on Lindenwood yet. I have heard talk on Arizona State. Like by taking Augustana, that created the 9th team. So there is room. You always want to be at even numbers if you can. You'd like it to do it in a fashion that whoever you take adds to the quality of your league. Lindenwood's off to a good start. They're playing a very tough schedule with a brand new program. Rick Comley was the coach there. He was an NHL player and he played in North Dakota. I don't know. I think it's open. Donnie Lucia is the commissioner in the CCHA. When he gets information, he gives it to us, but I haven't had any conversation that way yet.
What's your opinion on the NCAA allowing outside sponsorship dollars to go to individual athletes? Is it only for Division I athletes? Are any NMU athletes receiving these funds? If so, how does it affect their scholarship amounts?
Well, any athlete is eligible to receive it. It does not affect their scholarship at all, but there's proper paperwork that has to be filled out. My understanding is we don't have anybody right now, and it's one of those things where the rich get richer. So if you're at Alabama football, you're going to get some pretty good money. If you're at Michigan or Michigan State football, there are people out there who will sponsor you. Much more difficult in a small town, in a Division II program, to get people who are willing to put that kind of money or whatever that money is out there. But it's certainly having, I can't quote, I think it's a gymnastics team, Mike or Casey may know, where the whole team is sponsored, but there's only one whole team in the country at any division that's being sponsored with NILs. We're actually bringing an expert on campus to meet with our coaches and athletes to answer any questions they might have about the procedure, and requirements if you have an opportunity for that.
Great. All right. Last question before we shift, but continue to send in your questions because I'm sure we'll have some more time to get back to them. Connor would like to know, with moving basketball out of the Berry, would there be any changes to the away team hockey locker room that was formerly used by the basketball teams or on that side of the rink? He said he believes they may be the most comfortable away team locker rooms in NCAA.
They are, and I created them intentionally so that it would, I created it 2 rooms that have individual stalls, very well done, a little bit older now, but we wanted it to be suitable for basketball, home team basketballs to use while playing in the Berry, and to be one of the best, if not the best, visiting locker room. Now, I don't think basketball right now uses it during their games. I think they go back to their home locker rooms, which isn't that far away. But right now, to be honest with you, I haven't even been there in a dozen years to see how much they've gone backwards. I'm assuming they're still pretty darn good. And as I get more time here, then I'll start to do a little bit more in-depth viewing around the different areas. But I've had my plate full so far.
All right. With that, again, Rick, we can't thank you enough for coming in here tonight, taking a question mark when it comes to the athletic leadership of our program and turning it into an exclamation point and leading the NMU Wildcats forward. I'm sure we could talk for much longer on all the excitement and things and that you're bringing to us, but we also have a couple other coaches here that we're going to switch gears to, and we have 2 coaches that have joined us for today's program. One of which is volleyball coach Mike Lozier and NMU women's basketball coach Casey Thousand with us this evening, who will provide us brief updates on their team and what they are looking forward to. First, I'd like to welcome Mike Lozier, who is beginning his 6th season leading the NMU volleyball team. The 2021 season brought lots of success for the Wildcats and Lozier. NMU had an 11-game win streak during the season and captured the GLIAC regular season and tournament titles. Lozier took home the GLIAC Coach of the Year, the first of his career. He also coached GLIAC Freshman of the Year and all GLIAC first team members Jacqueline Smith, as well as 4 other all GLIAC honorees. The Wildcats finished their season 15-2 and ranked number 18 in the ABCA NCAA Division II coaches poll. With that, I'm going to be turning it over to Mike for him to highlight other things from the past and then be sharing about his 21-22 season.
All right. Thank you, Karla. Try to be brief, keep this in like 5 minutes or so. But first of all, thank you, all of you who are here. It is truly an honor to be the head coach of a program with as much history as Northern Michigan Volleyball. An interesting quick aside, before I got the job, I was down in Ann Arbor and I went to a match and Michigan was playing Oregon. And I didn't learn until I got here that I was watching the 2 national championship head coaches go head to head at the highest level of Division I. And that was just some quick insight into what I was walking into, a program that had a very rich history of success. And then you walk in Vandeman Arena today and you can see, I think there's 32 banners in there that are a culmination of GLIAC regular season championships, tournament championships, national championships, and All-Americans and retired jerseys. And so it is really, really an extraordinary program that I'm very thankful to be at the helm of. And now our goal has been, to get it to the place that, Rick had it at, as the athletic director back before. And so it's been a process, and, through this recruiting and bringing in that talent, we have landed some really great athletes. And you touched on one of them in Jacqueline Smith, but also, Lauren Vandermortel is our setter, Ellie Yacco is our libero, Lizzie Stark on the outside. Megan Meyer is, I think, top 10 in the country in hitting efficiency right now. So we have some talented athletes, and they were part of that spring 2021 GLIAC regular season tournament championship. And so now we're working to, create that success again this year. We're off to a 16-6 start. We're sitting at third in the conference, at just past the halfway point of our conference season. And Jacqueline Smith is currently number 2, I think, in kills and kills per set. And Megan Meyer, like I had said, is leading our conference in hitting percentage. And we've had a ton of success. We had wins over Grand Valley and Davenport early in the year, and that is where we're headed this weekend on the road to play those 2 teams again, hoping to repeat history and get a sweep on the weekend. But the team's doing really well. We're really excited. Our match against Michigan Tech at home, where we won 3-0, was one of the most exciting matches. I think we had just over 1,200 people in the stands, and it was just incredible. And we're just super grateful to have the fan base that we have. And we're looking forward to continuing to build and create a program that makes the people of Marquette, the alumni of this program, proud, because they've done so much to pave the way and help build a winning program. And I'm just trying to maintain that level of success.
Very good. Do we have any other questions from the question and answer here?
Nothing yet. Go
Okay.
ahead and put in any questions you have for Mike in the Q&A. Mike, tell us what are some of your favorite moments that you've had? Are there any moments that like stick out in your mind that just you're like, I wish I could relive that moment?
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I've actually shared a couple, anecdotes with Rick about this, but the hardest thing that I have as a coach, I'm really bad at enjoying things. When you win, I kind of expect it. And when you lose, it's just so devastating. We had a tough loss at home recently against Wayne State. We lost in 5, and it was, I think, 17-15 in the 5th set. And I couldn't leave my office because I knew if I went home, my poor wife would have to deal with how upset I was. And then we turn around on Saturday and we get the win against Saginaw in straight sets. And I was really, really proud of that team, the team's rebound. And about an hour after the match, I was thinking about how we lost the day before and how we had to be better. But if I had to pick some moments, I would say when we won the championship, the regular season, we had to play Michigan Tech the last weekend on Friday at Michigan Tech and Saturday at home. And we got kind of crushed on Friday. Michigan Tech was really good, and we just did not play well. And so going into Saturday, we had to win to clinch the regular season. And we had a lot of conversations leading up to it about just playing like we're capable. And it was the first match that we were allowed to have fans during COVID. And so there was only maybe 50 people in the entire arena. And the environment that they created as only a small group was so cool. I know it was some of the hockey players were there, and they're shaking the bleachers and just going crazy. And then we won that last set. We went 5 with them. We beat them 15-12. And Jackie Smith had just this incredible tip to the sideline that you could tell was going to land as soon as she lined up to do it. And the team rushing on the floor is something I'll never forget, even more so than winning the GLIAC tournament championship. That moment in Vandeman Arena was something special.
Cool. When after one of those tough losses like you mentioned, what does your locker room talk sound like? Like what kinds of things do you turn around? And obviously, like you mentioned, you're taking your the things in your head, thinking about what you could do better, but how do you convey that to your athletes, and what does that feel like for you?
Yeah. So I can use that Wayne State match as a perfect example of how we approach the locker room after a loss. I usually need a minute or two. I'm an emotional guy, and losing, like I said, really eats at me. So I need to collect my thoughts, but it doesn't matter if we win or lose. Obviously the energy in the locker room is significantly different when you walk in after a loss. But I ask the same two questions every time. First, what are some positives from what just happened? And then the team will respond. And then what are some areas where we want to see improvement the next time we play? And then they have to talk about that. One of the things that this team has been just phenomenal at is when I walk in, if there's chatter happening, I don't interrupt. And consistently, win or lose, we walk in, there is just dialogue and constructive dialogue, challenging each other, but doing it in a way that's respectful. And when we lose, it eats at them as well, but they're really good at identifying those things. And so that kind of centers us where we can, you get the positives out first, and that kind of lessens the sting when the next question comes, which is areas of improvement. And after that, maybe some little dialogue from me, responding to their thoughts, but you just got to move on, right? You learn, you let go, and that's how you got to operate. Otherwise, if you let stuff like that, as athletes, as coaches, I remember every single loss, unfortunately, but as athletes, you got to let that stuff go, because you can only control the things that are in front of you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I'm now excited to welcome Casey Thousand, the NMU women's basketball coach. This is Casey's first season as NMU's head coach as she returns to the NMU sideline after serving as assistant coach from the 2016 to 2018 season, along with being the associate head coach here in 2018 and 2019. For the past 3 seasons, Casey has served as the head women's basketball coach at the University of Illinois Springfield, where she led the Prairie Stars to an improved record each season, as well as success academically. Welcome, Casey.
Hi, Karla. Hi, everybody else. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And a special thank you to the Alumni Relations for putting all this together. And obviously with Karla being a women's basketball alumni, that means a lot. I'm thrilled to be back on the sidelines here at NMU, entering my first year as a head coach here, but my 17th year overall as a career head coach. Or as a career coach in the collegiate level. We've had a really good preseason so far. Team is working hard. We're excited to get started. Our strength and conditioning coaches are working with our players. Myself, Coach Chloe. We have Esther Binghamton, who's a student assistant for us right now, who's also taking on more of a coaching role than a player. We have 15 current players on our roster. You guys probably know who Kaylee Kuhn is. She was an all-conference player for us last year. She started almost every game for us. Some of our other strong returners that we have coming back as guards is Kayla and Mackenzie, Taya, Andrea, CJ, Elena. And some of our post players who will be coming back is Anna, Vivian, Sam, who has an ACL right now, but we're hoping she can be back here this year, and then Alyssa Mims as well. We're very happy with our squad and with who we have. They're great people. They're for our new people who we have coming in, we have some new additions to our squad. We have 2 transfers who are coming in. Abby, who's transferred from a D2 school, and then Hallie, who's transferring from a D3 school downstate Michigan. And then we have 2 freshmen who are joining our squad who we're really excited about, Sarah and Reed. It's a great group that we have. They're even better people off the court, which is huge. It makes my job a lot easier and Coach Chloe's job a lot easier. Not to mention how they excel in the classroom already with about a 3.6 GPA as a team, which is huge. So again, we started practice though on October 15th was our first official day. We're thrilled with our progress so far. We still have a long way to go, but we're getting there each day. We're just working to get a little bit better. That's really what we're stressing, and stressing kind of the little things right now, just to get things figured out and focused. But we open up on November 11th. We're going to Kansas City. We got 2 games out there in the GLIAC GLVC Challenge. And then we traveled to Minnesota for 2 games. And then mark your calendars, on November 22nd was our first home game in the Berry Event Center, and we hope that everyone can come out and support us. Then we continue with conference after that, and we're really excited just to get everything going and get the season going. And we also want to shout out to our alumni right now, and just we had a great alumni showing up at homecoming. They got to interact with our team. I think it was great for the team, but also our alumni. And I really strongly encourage, obviously, this is our alumni. If you guys want to come back and get involved, reach out to me, to Coach Chloe. We would really appreciate and get as many people involved with our program and with our team, and have that interaction continue on here throughout our season.
Thank you, Casey. I don't think there's any questions in the chat, but even like with the alumni, we love to obviously being an alumni here, we love to hear that. Even with Mike too, I noticed one thing when we were in college, we were always very close with the volleyball players as well. And we'd go to each other's games and connect that way too. And, still just through social media, you stay in contact with one another. And it's just nice. And it's true in all of our sports, as far as once you're a Wildcat, you're always a Wildcat. And just being part of this event for myself is very rewarding. Other than that, besides any other questions, I don't know if Kylie has any others there.
Yeah, Casey, what's it like to be back, and what kind of inspired you to come back, aside from potentially being asked, but like what made you decide to come back to NMU after being gone for 3 seasons, and then what's it like to be here now?
Well, 3 seasons I was here, I kind of took a step back. I was a head coach at a D3 level. And when I came here as an assistant, it kind of gave me a chance to kind of reevaluate myself of how I was doing things and how I was coaching. And working under Troy Matson, the previous coach, it was very easy. We worked very well together, and we kind of bounced ideas back and forth. And then when I got the opportunity to go become a head coach at the D2 level, I jumped on it. But then after the conversation, he told me that he decided to retire, which I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And it took me about a week. But then once I talked to my family, I talked to my friends, I talked to my circle. And it's kind of funny. There's a couple people in the community who actually sent me a text and was like, hey, we heard you retired. Are you coming back? So when you talk about the community here in Marquette, that's huge. When you talk about the alumni support here, I was still connected to a lot of people after my 3 years I was here. That when I came back for the interview, it felt like home. There was nothing else. It was an awesome experience, just running into people and saying hi to people who I haven't seen in 3 years. That really is what kind of sold me when I came back, and I was like, this is what I need to do. This is where I need to be. So I'm excited to be here. I'm thrilled to be here. I love the hiking and everything with Marquette, and I miss that. I was in Illinois, which is very flat and not a lot of outdoorsiness like there is up here. So, but yeah, there's a lot of things, and talking with my family, I think, was a big thing too. Like, this is just, it was meant to be, I believe.
Very cool. We do have one more question for Rick, if you want to pop back on here.
Okay, I'm coming.
All right.
All right. Nope.
Mike, you can come back too, in case you can stay on, and anybody who wants to throw any last minute questions or anything in the Q&A, feel free to do that for any of our coaches, for Rick, or any conversation starters that you'd like to hear about. Rick Hurt would like to know, he said it was great to watch the NMU Notre Dame hockey games last weekend on Peacock. Any plans to televise future NMU hockey games like that?
Well, I think they're all on Flow Hockey. So, if you just go into FLO Hockey, then all of our events, not only hockey, but all of the Northern events are broadcast. So you can watch every single game.
Thanks. Any other last minute comments? Anything? Casey and Mike, anything that you want to touch on that Rick talked about as far as some updates that might be happening? Anything you want to talk about there?
We're excited. I know that we talked about it. We're excited to see what happens and to see how it all turns out. We're excited to be a part of the process as well.
Yeah, I think I'm, since I've been at Northern, I've watched Vandement kind of slowly progress to something different from when I first got there, and a very one of the things that one of the parents said that has stuck with me is when I first got there, the Vanderbilt was a kind of like a gymnasium. They said it's now transformed into an arena. And with the things that we're talking about with this transformation now moving forward, I could really see that space becoming something really exciting for the fans. And I love supporting other teams. And one of my biggest gripes was kind of the game day atmosphere for basketball. So I think this is going to be hugely helpful for them in terms of creating an atmosphere on game day that, people already hate coming to the UP. I think it could make it, one of the most miserable experiences for our visiting team, which I look forward to seeing happen.
Why don't we close it out by everybody saying, one thing in the upcoming season, or one thing that, is standing out, one thing that you're specifically looking forward to when it comes to NMU athletics. And we'll start with Casey.
One thing I'm excited for, obviously, to be back. But I think just putting my little twist of things with women's basketball, I'm excited for. But I think our fall sports are doing really well. And I think that our coaching staff is awesome, and the way that they support each other, I think, is huge. And I'm excited to see how it continues and how we're really a family, and we're really a community within NMU, which is, I think, awesome.
Mike?
Yeah, for me, I'm obviously looking forward to, as our season's sort of winding down, how our team shows up for postseason play. We're pretty much guaranteed to be in our conference tournament. And there's no doubt with the core group of athletes we have that we can beat anybody in front of us. And that's not something I would say openly very often, but I truly believe it with this team. And as our season wraps up, watching basketball, going to hockey games, this is an exciting time at NMU with a lot of athletics happening. And so I'm excited to transition from a coach to a fan.
And Rick, what about you?
Lots, I've got a smile on my face because, I'm back working. It has nothing to do with what's good for Rick Comley. I'm back to make life better for a whole bunch of good coaches, and just watching, Mike and Casey and their professionalism, their approach, they're both outstanding. We got lots of good coaches and a bright future within the department. And, no matter how long I'm here, the day I leave, if everybody feels that they benefited by me being there, then it's made it all worthwhile. So, these two are great, and we have a bunch of really good ones. So anybody listening, you can be very supportive. There are different ways you can support, and just staying connected and letting people know that being at Northern meant something to you, helped you along your path. You can return that in 1,000 different ways. So thanks to everybody, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of this.
I'll piggyback off of what you're saying, Rick, too. Coming up is on November 29th is NMU Day of Giving. And we'll be starting some promotion for that coming up too. But if this is the chance to give to what you love. So if athletics is something that you really care about, something that changed you as an NMU student and an NMU athlete, that's a great time to support NMU as a whole and NMU athletics specifically too. And Karla, is there anything in the upcoming, I know you being a Wildcats fan, is there anything you're looking forward to in the upcoming seasons?
I guess when you get to be my age, you just enjoy the simple things, from walking into the Berry, walking into the Dome, walking into any venue, hearing the band, smelling the popcorn, bumping into Lindsay, and just the different people you get to have interactions with. It just, again, reminds you of your roots, and just the development of the relationship part of what Northern has given the alumni here is just truly amazing. And it's why so many still just show up for homecoming, and you just get to be part of something so much bigger. And it's little things. It's I have two sons now, and they get to, when they put on the Northern gear, when they show up to the summer camps, and now they're looking up to your athletes. It just comes full circle. And, you know, that's why you should give and support Northern Athletics, because that's truly what it's all about as life comes full circle. And now here we have Rick back leading the helm again. So that's just amazing.
Kylie, could I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, we're losing a really, really good president in President Schuling. I haven't worked with her very long. I wish I could have worked with her a lot longer. I think she's outstanding. She's passing the torch to Dr. Brock Tessman, who I've only met a couple of times, but I'm very impressed with him. I think the future's very, very bright in his hands. And I think this will make president number 8 for me, you know, and I've seen all ranges, and the better your president, the better your programs. And I think again, they're going to contribute to this thing continuing to move forward.
Great. Any other last minute questions or last minute comments from any of our panelists before I wrap it up? Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Rick, Mike, Casey, Karla, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us, alumni and friends. Don't forget to look at nmu.edu/alumni for upcoming events and programs that we have going on. We'll also be sending out a short survey, so check your emails, and then that'll also include the recording to this if you'd like to share with your fellow alumni or in case you missed any part of it. We're also going to be choosing one person from tonight's attendees to receive a Wildcat alumni t-shirt, so also keep your eyes open for that. And then if you have any follow-up questions or anything, you can always send them to alumni@nmu.edu and we can make sure it gets into the hands of the right person. Follow us on social media, NMU Alumni, for all the upcoming things. We'll see you again on November 16th for a cooking segment. I think, Rick, you said you wanted to lead that cooking segment. Is that right? Mac and cheese with Rick?
Mac and cheese or grilled cheese.
Okay.
That's the only.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you all joining us and taking the time, and we will see you all soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.